What is up, you guys? And I'm back with another video today. In today's video, I want to discuss some of the more common questions I get asked in my DMs on how do I become a software engineer in Japan. Now, I've listed some of these questions on the side of the screen as you can see right now, with a couple of them blurred out. I wanted to say those for people who stick around to the end of the video. Now, with that being said, my name is Terrence Reynolds. I'm a software engineer who's been living in Japan for about a decade now. And this guide is a mixture of my own personal experience as well as a bit of research that I did. Now, I do want to give a small caveat. I am not an expert at this at all. There will be gaps in this guide, but I hope that this guide can serve as a resource starting point for you to continue to do your own research and come back to this video anytime that you need to have a couple of questions answered. Now, with that being said, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video for anyone who also want to have these questions answered as well. And now, to give you more context, in the description you're going to see a list of my sources that I use to help me create this guide. For those who are curious and would like to know more, I left a list of my sources in the description box down below. Feel free to check them out as well. I want to give a special shout out to Tokyo and Japan Dev. I use both of these websites to help me create and craft this video, and they're tremendous resources for anyone that's looking to do additional research to understand what it's like to live as a software engineer in Japan, as well as find a job and move here as well. Also, I want to give a double shout out to Japan Dev. They have a great YouTube channel where they interview software engineers such as myself, and I find it to be a great resource for anyone that want to figure out how can I move to Japan, because so much of getting here is so unique to the individual and your own circumstances. To hear a plethora of other stories of different people's journeys to get to this point will be a tremendous guide for you as you embark on your journey to become a software engineer in Japan. So all that out of the way, let's get into the guide. Question number 1, do I need to speak Japanese to become a software engineer in Japan? Now, for those who've been following this channel and been watching my videos, the answer comes at no surprise. The answer is no, but it depends. And for those of you who don't know me, I've been living in Japan for almost a decade now. I actually made a video on this very topic on why I never learned Japanese and how I managed to live in Japan as a software engineer without speaking the language. If you'd like to know more about what that is like, feel free to check out the video that I'm going to link at the top. The reason why I say it depends because there's a few things that matter when you're trying to answer this question. The first one being, what level of a software engineer are you? If you are a mid to senior level software engineer or higher than that, the chances of you needing the language is very slim. Companies are more in demand for people like you than they are for lower end engineers. And because Japan has a software developer shortage, oftentimes they're willing to hire people from overseas to fill in that gap. And many of the development departments that I worked in, because I had 3 different jobs here, usually the product team and the engineering team are English speakers. And it's a mixture of Japanese and foreign workers, with the official working language in that department being English. And if you don't speak Japanese and you're an engineer at a junior level or lower, it'll behoove you to learn Japanese. Companies will see you as too much of a risk if you can't speak Japanese, you don't live in the country, and you aren't that good as a software engineer yet. It's just too much for them to take on to hire you from abroad. And yes, I know that's not the best thing to hear if you're an aspiring engineer who want to move to Japan and become a software engineer. So this is what I have for you, for those of you who have no experience but want to move to Japan. My recommendation to you is to get into the country first. You see, oftentimes companies are willing to compromise if you have, let's say, one of those problems. And yes, I know that is difficult to hear for many of you guys who are aspiring engineers who are hoping to move into the country. But not all hope is lost, and there are ways that you can become an engineer in Japan even if you don't have that much experience. My first recommendation to you is to move into the country. Oftentimes companies be willing to compromise with you if you somehow don't speak Japanese, don't live in the country, and don't really have that much of an engineering background, if you're willing to solve at least 1 or 2 of those problems. With the first one being the obvious one. If you live in the country, that brings your risk profile much lower. If you speak a little bit of Japanese as well, that additionally brings your risk profile lower. And by a little bit, I highly recommend at least N3 or N2, preferably N2. If you manage to solve both of those things beforehand, even with your lack of experience, a company would be willing to take a chance on you. And for one, because if you're already inside the country, that makes you starting so much more easier. And for 2, once you start, you'll be able to get up to speed pretty quickly if you do have an engineering department where, let's say, for example, the manager feels more comfortable communicating in Japanese. From my experience, knowing Japanese will give you an advantage for engineers who don't, such as myself, but it's not much of an advantage. It won't necessarily increase your salary. In fact, most jobs that pay more often say English is the only requirement. I found with my own personal research that if you look for a job that says Japanese speaking only, often those jobs pay less. You gotta understand that Japan doesn't really value software engineers as much as English-speaking countries, so the pay is lower if you work for a traditional Japanese company. That's why, from my perspective, it made more sense for me to invest into my own career and self-development as an engineer in Japan than to learn the language if your priority is to advance in your career. Question number 2, how much can I expect to make as a software engineer in Japan? Now, the answer to this question is it depends. Whether you're a junior, mid-level, or senior level engineer, your salary will vary, but I'm sure that's obvious. So let me give you guys some data right now. Now, from my own research, I've found that the average junior level engineer make about 5 million yen a year. Now, this is a range, to be quite honest. It can be lower and it can be slightly higher, depending on if you're working for a Japanese or international company. For a mid-level engineer, the average salary is roughly around 6 million yen a year. And for a senior level engineer, you can expect to make about 9 million yen a year. And if you manage to get to staff level or higher, you can also expect to make 10 or 11 million or more in some cases, depending on what company you work for. Now, I will say that this kind of tracks from my own personal experience. When I got my first software engineer job in Japan way back in 2018, I made about 4.4 million a year. I worked at that company for about 2 years, transitioned to a Japanese startup, and I made 6 million a year. And now my numbers kind of deviate from this data because, to be honest, I'm a bit of an anomaly. I make about 25 million yen in Japan, and you can learn more about how I managed to get there in another video that I did, because I work for an international company that pays at the highest end of the Japanese salary bands as a software engineer in Japan. So I wanted to share my experience to let you know that you can make way more than some of these numbers that you may see on this chart, but I don't want to mislead you either. These jobs such as Google, Indeed, Microsoft, or Apple, there are exceptional jobs that pay quite well, but they're quite rare to get. But this does bring up an important point that I want to cover as well. From my experience, and many people would tell you this, including recruiters, Japanese companies, especially traditional Japanese companies, they tend to pay the lowest. Now, Japanese startups, the ones that we know that are more renowned, maybe internationally, but especially domestically, such as PayPay, Line, and similar companies like that, they tend to pay above average. But if you manage to get a job at a multinational American-based company, those are the jobs that pay so well. But thousands of engineers are applying for those jobs every single day, and they can be quite difficult to get. So I hope this information helps. So question number 3, how do I get a visa and what are the pathways to becoming an engineer in Japan? Now, I've listed some of the pathways and the visas on the side of the screen. One of them I do have experience in. Others, I've met people who went down those routes, while some of them I don't have experience in at all, but I did manage to do research to help you out. The first one being work holiday visas. Now, this one strictly depends on which country that you're from. So if you're American, I hate to break this to you, we do not offer work holiday visas to the Japanese, so the Japanese do not offer work holiday visas to us. However, if you're not American and maybe you're from Canada or the UK, these are all pathways for you, but you should check out your own consulate or embassy website to find out the particular details for your own country. But generally speaking, the requirements for a work holiday visa are the following. Number 1, your primary purpose for applying for a work holiday visa is for holidays. I guess that's where the name work holiday visa come in. The idea behind it is this. You want to come to Japan for an extended holiday, maybe a year or two, and you have a job to supplement your holiday as well as your income here in Japan so you can live and take care of yourself. But it does come with some requirements. You must show proof of sufficient income of around 300,000 to 500,000 and a return ticket, or extra funds if you haven't purchased a return ticket of approximately $1,000 to $4,000 depending on your nationality. The second one being the limitation on activities. You cannot engage in full-time or long-term employment that contradicts the work holiday purpose, and you cannot enroll in a university, though a language school is allowed. So I know this isn't the best news for people who want to go the work holiday visa route. Chances are that will only limit you to maybe a 1-year or sub-year contract as a software engineer in Japan. But it is an option for those of you who are looking to get in by any means necessary, because work holiday visas, generally speaking, if you are under the age of 30 and over the age of 18, are pretty easy to get if Japan allows it for your country. However, for many of these paths on the list, including this work holiday visa, if you do manage to find a full-time job, there may be a path in which you can ask your company that you apply for to change your work holiday visa from a holiday visa to a full-time employment visa. This isn't an exhaustive list of the requirements for a work holiday visa. So if you would like to know more, please check out the Japanese consulate or embassy website for your home country. There, it should detail the exact requirements for your nationality. Pathway number 2, becoming an English teacher. And yes, I know this is a little bit left field for a guide on how to find a job as a software engineer in Japan, but this is the path that I went down. You see, almost 10 years ago, when I first moved to Japan, I came here as an English teacher. I taught myself how to code and I looked for a job as a software engineer in Japan. I transitioned my English teaching visa to an engineering visa, and it was quite simple. And this is a very pragmatic path that many people decide to go down, not even for engineering alone. If you are looking to get into the country from a very pragmatic standpoint and also have gainful employment, well, gainful is doing the heavy lifting here. Coming here as an English teacher is a very pragmatic approach because one, you can get into the country, two, you can get established, and three, once you're inside the country, you become so much more easy to hire than somebody who's applying from abroad. This is why I recommend this approach for anyone that's looking to come into Japan, because the requirements to become an English teacher are generally pretty low. For one, you have to be from an English speaking country, preferably a native English speaking country. And for two, at least for Americans, you have to have a 4-year college degree. If you have those two things, becoming an English teacher is so easy, and many companies will be willing to sponsor your visa and help you move here and help you get set up. And you should learn more information by doing your research on how to become an English teacher in Japan. So pathway number 3, coming here on the student visa, more specifically a language learning visa. This is a very pragmatic approach because assuming you have the money saved up to be able to afford a language school here, you can come here, get set up, look for an apartment, get used to living in Japan, and begin looking for jobs that can hire you as a software engineer. Now, I'm not exactly sure what the restrictions are when it comes to a student visa. I do know that you can't really work, and if you can, it's a lot of restrictions on how long you can work on a student visa. So you probably would have to transfer that student visa to a proper working visa once you find the appropriate job. So pathway number 4 is the job relocation route. This is a very unique one because I've only met one, maybe two people that have done it. Typically, the way it works is this. You work for a company that have a Japan office. This can be very easy if you work for a multinational company. I've had friends who work for Google transfer to the Japan branch, and another friend who work at Apple transfer to the Japan branch. This requires a bit more strategy because it requires you to work for a company that has a Japan office. So maybe this isn't practical for somebody with 0 years of experience or who's a junior level engineer. But if you're a mid-level engineer or a senior level engineer, take a look at your company policies and what branches they have all around the world and see if you can transfer to a Japanese office, because this is a very easy pathway for those who already work for a multinational company. So for the next pathway, this one, I will admit, is a bit unconventional, but it is a guaranteed way for you to be able to find a job here in Japan. Simply marry a Japanese person. I mean, come on, man, think about it. Get a spousal visa, find you a little Japanese hubby or waifu, and come into the country, and then you're free to do whatever you want, just like a permanent residency. I don't think this one needs any more explanation. I can't really give you a how-to video on how to land a Japanese partner, but I'm sure you can figure that out on your own. Now for the last 3, it required a bit of research on my end because these are less common paths, at least from my perspective, because I don't know too many people that went down these last 3 routes. The first one being the HSP visa. This is the highly skilled professional visa, and the requirements are the following. To qualify for a highly skilled professional visa, you're going to need 70 points. The points are a factor of academic background, professional experience, salary, age, and Japanese language speaking ability, preferably N1 or N2. A university degree isn't required if you meet the point threshold. For example, a person with a bachelor degree receives 10 points, a person with 3 years of work experience receives 5 points, a person under the age of 29 receives 15 points, a person with a Japanese speaking ability of N2 will receive 10 points, and a salary of 8 million yen or more will receive 30 points, and this would qualify you. Due to the point calculation, an entry-level job with a low salary may not give you enough points to meet this threshold. The next one is a J-Fine visa. Now, I gotta be honest, I've never heard of this visa until I started doing research on this video. A J-Fine visa, according to the Japanese website, it enables you to come to Japan and hunt for a job. And should you find one, you have to start working immediately. This will require you to have a degree from a university ranked in the top 100 and at least 2 world university rankings. Apply within the first 5 years of graduating and have a minimum of 200,000 yen saved up for initial living expense. If you meet all these requirements, you can apply for a J-Fine visa. The next one and the last one on this list is a J-Skip visa. A J-Skip visa is an advanced specialist technical activities visa. Typically, this visa requires you to have a master's degree or higher or 10 years of working experience if you don't have either. And you have to have an annual income of 20 million yen or more. Probably the reason why I haven't met anyone with a J-Skip visa is because Having 20 million yen or more as an income here in Japan is incredibly rare, and it will put you in the top 1%. So question number 4, what sort of platform or resources can I use to find an engineering job in Japan? Now, for my own personal experience looking for jobs here, I use the following: Japan Dev, Tokyo Dev, LinkedIn, and Recruiters. Japan Dev and Tokyo Dev are specialized job board platforms geared towards people in the tech industry. You can find mostly software engineering jobs on there, but occasionally you can find other jobs as well. LinkedIn is also a great resource. Many of the jobs, if not all the jobs I applied for except one, I found on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is also doubly valuable because this is also where you can find recruiters that help you find a job here as well. Now, if you don't know anything about recruiters, the way recruiters work here in Japan is this. Once you contact them on LinkedIn or you apply for a job that is posted by a recruiter will usually email you and set up an interview. Once they set up an interview with you, even if you apply for that initial job that they posted and you don't get the job, they kind of act as an agent for you and they look for jobs on your behalf and apply for them for you. Typically, when you work with a recruiter and you do the initial consultation, you hand them your resume, they're like an agent. They apply for jobs on your behalf, and you can use this as a strategy to help you apply for more jobs. Now, recruiters do have a limited amount of clients that they work with, so they can't apply for every single job on your behalf, but for the ones that they have partnerships or deals with, they're going to actively push your resume towards those people, and it can be a great way for you to get your foot in the door as a software engineer here in Japan. I will say this though, if you are going to use recruiters to find a job, it's probably in your best interest to already live in the country. Recruiters at the end of the day are salespeople and they're looking to hire the easiest candidate for the company. And if you're living outside of Japan, my recommendation is that you either be very good and very exceptional at what you do or find a way to get into the country. A recruiter will take you more serious if you are an easy hire. Question number 5, what is the work culture like here in Japan? Now, from my experience, I've worked for 3 different companies, a European one, a Japanese startup, and a multinational American company. And from my own personal experience, I've never had to go through any of that stuff that you see on the internet where people are working these incredibly long hours. They're slaving away at these companies for an extended period of time and working well into the night. I'm sure you guys seen those Japanese salaryman memes. Those haven't been my experience. For the European company, it was quite relaxing. Tech wasn't their primary business, so we were more like a support team for their publishing efforts. And working at that company, it was pretty cool. I didn't make a lot of money, but I got about 30 days worth of vacation, and that's not including the public holidays here. And when you add that up, I had like 50 days off a year. But the Japanese tech company that I work for, the startup one, I only got 10 days off in general. That includes sick days and holidays. That one was a little bit more difficult, but at least I got to work from home. And it was an overall great environment working with my coworkers. I will say for that job, many of those coworkers are still my friends to this day. And it had a great working culture, at least when I was there. I can't speak for it now because I haven't been there in 4 years, but I had a great time working for a Japanese startup. And the last one being a multinational American company. I'm sure you can find out which company that is by checking my LinkedIn. This is where I got the bulk of my engineering experience, and it helped me grow significantly as an engineer as I understood the exact process of product development as well as software engineering that the other 2 companies did not have the capability of teaching me early in my career. Still, with this company as well, the working conditions are quite fine. I work from home, I have unlimited PTO, and I have a plethora of benefits that I'm not going to list in this video, but you can Google it and you can see for yourself. I really enjoy, at least until now, working for this company, but right now this company is changing, and I can't give my endorsement for anyone that's looking to apply for this company, but I will save my opinions on that for another video. But overall, my experience of working in Japan have been quite nice. It's not to say that I would never experience working for one of those negative companies that you see on the internet. It's just that I do my own filtering. When I'm applying for a job and I go into their office for an interview, I make note of certain things. I see the working conditions. I ask the questions to the CEO or the hiring manager that can give me an idea of what it's like to work here. And I try to look for reviews on Glassdoor or any other website where people post reviews of working for that company. And if you want to go that extra mile, just message somebody on LinkedIn. Ask them, yo, what is it like to work for this company? And if they give you a positive impression, then go ahead and apply for it. I find that many people who find themselves in these bad jobs oftentimes settle for less. And look, I get it. I'm not here to judge. Sometimes you're just trying to get your foot in the door, and that can be your way to get into this industry here in Japan. But if you can afford to be more selective, I would encourage you to take your time because the experiences here will vary. And I hope that you find a job that is great to you because Who wants to work at a company every single day where they feel miserable? I'm sure Japan is like anywhere else in the world. So use your discernment and use your judgment and you'll be okay. So question number 6. This is the first of the 2 mystery questions that I saved for the end of this video. The first question being, what are the common skills or technologies that companies look for when they are hiring a software engineer in Japan? As of a 2024 survey, the most popular programming languages were JavaScript, Python, TypeScript, CSS and HTML, SQL, Bash and Shell, Java, Go, Ruby, and Kotlin. This question is a little bit interesting because this is probably one of the more common questions that I get in my DMs. And to be quite honest, the survey is helpful, but you should take it with a caveat. The reason why is this: depending on when you watch this video, and hell, even now, programming languages and tech stacks are constantly changing. It's a moving target. So to bet everything all on a singular programming language or the most popular one, that can change next year or in a couple of months. The most important thing that I'll recommend for anyone is to have a deep expertise in your desired programming tech stack. For me as a front-end developer, I spend most of my time studying TypeScript, JavaScript, React, HTML, and CSS. For you, if you're applying as a back-end engineer or any other kind of engineer, just become familiar with some of the more common tech stacks in the industry right now and then go deep. If one day those techs were to change, oftentimes many companies will allow you to onboard to their new process or their particular tech stack. So don't bet everything all on the tech stack just because it's popular in 2026. Take something, learn it, master it, and then focus on developing the other skills and traits necessary that makes for a good engineer. The primary one being is a product development background. If you can understand how to ship and deliver products effectively and efficiently, that's going to be more valuable than learning the hottest new framework. So for the last mystery question, the final question on this list, this is a question that you should ask anybody, anyone that you know who's a software engineer in Japan. Maybe you should even ask yourself this question before you ever move here. And the question is it worth becoming a software engineer in Japan? What are the pros and cons? Look, I don't know, man. The answer to this question that it depends. If you're an American, your priority is salary, Japan isn't the best place for you. It's not to say that the salaries here are bad. It's just that you would make so much more if you lived in America or even Canada. Now, with that being said, if you're looking for that Japanese lifestyle, if you like the idea and you fantasize about living in Tokyo, there's no replacement for it. My lifestyle in Tokyo is way better than most places that you can find in America. Whenever I'm going to America, I feel like I'm stepping down. My living conditions in Tokyo are so much better than my peers in America, and it's really no comparison. It's safe, the food here is great, I'm healthy, I'm able to walk and enjoy this lifestyle living in the world's biggest city, or second biggest city, depending on how you look at it. And overall, I feel like the lifestyle here in Tokyo, it's irreplaceable. There's nothing out there that can match it, truly. But I will say this, Japan does come with its own headaches. You can see a video that I did earlier in my YouTube journey where I talked about whether or not Japan hates foreigners. In that video, I talked about the pros and cons of living in Japan. That video is way more in depth than what I can even offer you in this video, so I can keep the runtime short. But I will say living in Japan comes at extreme compromises. Even if you speak the language, no matter how long you've been here, you would never really be Japanese. They would never see you as that. They will always see you as a foreigner. Maybe this might change if you live in a smaller city, but it's going to be difficult to find a job in a local Japanese village somewhere. But if you're living in Tokyo, they're going to treat you, for the most part, as a tourist. When you walk into these stores, they're not going to see you as a local community member. And that can feel quite difficult because many of my friends, and including myself, it's difficult to truly feel at home here. You can feel like a fish out of water at times while living in Japan. Right now, I'm on the verge of getting my permanent residency here, so I'm not necessarily saying I'm going to stay in Japan for the rest of my life, but I do want to have Japan as a backup plan, just in case my home country in the US keeps going down this route that I don't agree with. My biggest fear about living in Japan is when I look at the macroeconomic conditions and I see the weakening yen, I see the population decline. I do worry, if you come to Japan, will you be trapped here? Because think about it. If the yen continues to weaken, the population continues to decline, and the GDP to debt ratio rises, I worry that if retirement in Japan will be ultimately a bad idea. Because if the debt keeps increasing, the population decreases as well, then taxes are going to get higher, pensions are going to get cut and other retirement benefits are going to get cut. The Japan that you see today that you feel is stable may not exist by the time you hit retirement age. And that's something you should also keep in the back of your mind if you're committed to living in Japan for the long term. Now, I am no expert, and even experts can tell you that they cannot predict the future, but I would highly suggest you have some sort of backup plan. For me personally, my goal is to live in Japan while earning USD. That is my strategy, and this is how I'm going to navigate the best of both worlds, which is the best of living in Japan, which is physically being here, and the benefits of me being an American citizen, which is collecting that good old American dollar. And that's how I'm trying to thread the needle. But whether or not it's worth it here, I think overall it is. Just because you move here doesn't mean you have to stay here. I know so many people who come here for like 1 or 2 years or even 3 years. And if you did that, most of what I'm saying right now is not going to even matter to you. But if you're deciding to stay here for 10, 20 plus years or even forever, it is truly a commitment. The money that you save here, if you ever try to take out and give back to your home country, may be worth less tomorrow if this yen continues to decline. And I'm worried for anybody, including myself, who stay here for an indefinite time period. So the answer to this question is really a personal choice. I'm sure many of you guys who are watching this video have done your own research. You tell me in the comment section down below if Japan is worth it, if you've taken a look at the cons as well. I've laid out some in this video and I've laid out others in another video that you can check out, but it's ultimately a personal decision that you're gonna have to make for yourself. So this has been my guide on how to find a software engineering job here in Japan. If you enjoyed this video, if you can do me a favor, make sure you like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, if you can do me one more favor, click that hype button. The hype button is a new feature that YouTube released that help boost small creators like me and allow us to compete in the algorithm geared towards bigger creators. Lastly, if you like the quality of my videos, if you like to know what sort of equipment that I use to create these YouTube videos and you want to do something similar, I included links in my description box of all of the gear that I use. Now, these are Amazon affiliate links. If you click on them, I get a little bit of a kickback. That's one way that you can support the channel, is by clicking on those links and purchasing any of the gear that I have. But with that being said, I appreciate it if you made it this far in the video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.